to Tao of Self-Confidence, episode 204.
Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. Visit our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits. Well, hello friend. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. I'm your host today, Sheena Yap Chan. I have an amazing lady on today. She is an entrepreneur with many tricks up her sleeve, and she's here today to share her story in self-confidence. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Frances Hui. Frances, how are you today? Maybe you can fill in a little bit more about yourself to the listeners.
I'm doing really well. How are you doing? Well, thanks for having me on. Well, I'm a social and digital influencer. I was born in Hong Kong, and I grew up in Vancouver, lived here all my life since the age of 3. I basically promote a luxury lifestyle and focus on products and services, often a lot of special events, sometimes places, and sometimes even people. And I've worked in the fashion industry. I've sold real estate. I was promoting restaurants and worked with hospitality, and also luxury car brands, liquor brands, nightlife. I'm kind of into everything. I guess the only thing I don't do is sports or outdoor things, which I kind of want to explore more of. Sometimes I promote charity galas, and sometimes I'm mentoring young entrepreneurs who want to pick my brain because they find me online or, heard about me through mutual friends and things like that.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And Frances, what would be your favorite self-confidence quote?
My favorite self-confidence quote is, success isn't just about what you accomplish in your life, it's about what you inspire others to do. And the reason why I like that quote is I think confidence is important, of course, whatever you do in life, whether it's personal, professional, or, friendship, romantic, business, whatever. But I think it's not just, what you accomplish for yourself, but how it impacts other people that are part of whatever situation you're in, that, where you're accomplishing those goals and being successful at them. And hopefully you're helping each other and you're learning from each other.
Awesome. That's a great quote. And I always believe in inspiring others to, just take action in their own lives and go out there and doing what they love. So great stuff. And, in your own words, how would you define self-confidence?
I think self-confidence is knowing who you are, from just kind of like your basic background, your name, your kind of your identity, like when you're born into this world, your family. But it's also knowing what you stand for. So your values, your principles, your standards, if you're acting with integrity. And then also knowing what you want, your passions, your goals, desires, your vision, your mission for your life. How do you want to be remembered? And what impression do you want to leave with people? It's also understanding that you're worthy and you have value, and that you deserve love and respect, and that each person is special and unique in their own way.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. I always, those are great definitions. And Frances, what was your life like before your discovery of self-confidence?
I used to be, when I was younger, I felt more insecure, and I felt sometimes I wasn't good enough. I had a lot of self-doubt. I would often second guess myself making decisions and then worry about what I should do next. Sometimes, maybe someone would say or do something, some action or comment towards me, and if it was kind of negative, I would take it like they were maybe doing it intentionally or on purpose, and I would feel really hurt and angry about it when I was going through the situation. But then I realized after so many years and, living life and meeting more people and doing more things, when I look back, I probably wasn't feeling so good about myself at the time, or I felt like I was just taking it personally, which I think a lot of people tend to do when you're not being as self-aware. But now that, now that I'm sort of look back and learn from that, it's given me a different perspective.
I think that's something we all go through, especially with, women being in Asian cultures. We always tend to second guess ourselves because we've been told what to do our lives, whether it's to go to school, get a job, and never rock the boat. It's like parents want us to follow what they tell us to do, and they don't want us to just make any noise in case we shame our family. But then it also, it makes us lose, who we are in the process. And that's why, maybe sometimes we go through what you went through before, second guessing, not valuing ourselves and, not trusting our gut. So what was that point in your life when you realized that, you were more than enough to, be the person that you are today? What was that aha moment?
Well, when I was growing up, I don't, and I agree with you. Like sometimes I still ask myself because we're, for some of your listeners, if they haven't seen us online or haven't seen you or don't know me, we're both Asian, and I think we're both Chinese too, right? So the thing is, about Asian culture is that it's when you're Chinese, it's like it's never good enough. It's always criticism. It's never praise, and that's kind of like a little bit cultural. So I always felt like growing up and just even sometimes like those voices, maybe voices in the back of your head which are not really your voices but maybe your parents' voices or your relatives or how you were, where you grew up with the people that you're with, saying that you're not doing this right, or you're a failure, you did this wrong, or that's not good enough. And so there was a time in my life where I thought that I had to be perfect to be loved. So I think that was sometimes the hesitation and the fear of not making the right decision, right, in quotes, or doing something perfectly or doing it really, successfully, because if it wasn't going to be good enough, then maybe people wouldn't like me as much, or that I wasn't as good as other people. And so, when I realized that wasn't necessarily true, because, sometimes we see people like we're not perfect, we're human, and we fail and we make mistakes, but we also have opportunities to achieve great things and to act better and be better people. So when I realized, I mean, there's a few different moments. I don't know exactly. I can't say the time and the date, but it's kind of like sometimes we're worrying too much about what other people think. That's one thing. And really, people are not thinking about you. They're thinking about themselves. Everyone's a little bit, the same. It's human nature. Everyone's worried about themselves, and everyone's a little bit selfish because it's about self-preservation and taking care, doing sort of like our own thing. And so they're not really thinking about you. So if you think about that, it's kind of like, don't worry what people think, because they're probably not thinking about you. Just do what, you feel right to do. It's your passion, your desire, your goal. The other thing is that it's like some people are never happy. Like some people, no matter what, you can't please everyone. So some people are going to praise you for what you do because, they like you and they like what you're doing. And then other people that are just going to criticize you because they don't agree or they don't understand what you're doing, or maybe they're jealous. And so you're not going to please everyone. So the best thing is to make decisions and do things that you feel comfortable with, that you believe in, that you're passionate about, and that you feel right to do. And some people, and then, the other thing was, I was growing up, my parents were always, I guess, criticize and complain. So then after I just realized that maybe they just weren't so happy a lot of the times, really, if I was going to worry about what they thought all the time, then I would never be happy either, because they would never be happy with what I was trying to do. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to do my best and do what I think is, best for me, as long as it's not totally embarrassing my family or hurting myself, and not worry too much about what they think, because otherwise how am I going to move forward? And so that's kind of like those aha moments was, not going to please everyone, and you are going to make mistakes, but you got to just, try and do your best and do what you think is right, and without hurting yourself and anyone else in the process. And that's all you can do.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And I agree. I think, we've been ingrained, especially as women, to go out there and always just be perfect, just to, be the perfect daughter, the perfect wife, the perfect sister, everything. It just has to be perfect. And for me, there's no such thing as being perfect. It's just, making progress. We're always going to stumble along the way. We're going to make mistakes. There's someone out there who's never going to agree what we do. And that's okay. As long as we know that we are being our true authentic self, that's all that matters. And, because of that, those realizations, what's your life been like now?
Well, it's like a weight's lifted off my shoulders. I used to not tell anyone, I'm a very positive, optimistic person. I like to be that way. But I used to not tell any of the personal stories about anything I failed at or that was going on in my life that was negative, because I didn't want to I didn't want to share that with people. I felt maybe sometimes embarrassed or ashamed, or I wanted to keep that sort of perfect image. But then I realized that, and then I was really hard on myself and I was hard on other people. But then I realized that when, like, you seem like, your life is perfect, which is not, because nobody's life is perfect. It's just they're not telling you the negative stuff. When when you're so hard on yourself, and maybe you're hard on other people, and that's the other thing I've learned is, like, however you treat yourself is how you treat other people. So if you're hard on yourself, you beat yourself up, you kind of do that to other people too.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that, and I think that's what people need to realize. You don't have to be perfect. You just go out there, do your best, be who you are, learn to love yourself, and the magic will happen. Things will come to you when you least expect it. So, Frances, to the woman who's listening to your episode, she may be in her own journey to self-confidence. What'd be that one tip you would give to her?
It's still a constant daily struggle to stay focused on positive self-talk and what I call mental discipline, because, we have sometimes voices in our head, like I mentioned earlier, that maybe we kind of acquired over the years from, maybe family or from certain friends we had in the past, or maybe certain bosses when we were, if you were, working for a job or whatever. Every day it's like I'm, telling myself, I'm good enough, and, I know what I'm doing and I know what I want. And whether you do that, in sort of in your thoughts, you do out loud as a spoken out loud of positive affirmations to kind of boost your self-esteem and self-worth and your identity.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing those amazing tips. And Frances, if our listeners want to connect with you and get to know a little bit more about what you do, is there any links or social media profiles we can connect with?
Well, I'm really online quite a bit, and so right now, my website actually is under construction. I haven't had actually a sort of current website for a long time, so I'm sort of in the process of making a new website, and I'm going to start sort of blogging more regularly. But as far as social media is concerned, whatever social media that people can be on, I'm on everything. I'm mostly on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, but I have, I think I give you a link. It's one site that has listed all my links to all my different social media profiles, so people can connect with me on there. But basically, if they can spell my name, they can Google me, they can find me.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. And to our listeners, if you want to connect with Frances, you can also head on over to theTaoofSelfConfidence.com and search for Frances's name. Her show notes will pop up along with everything else we talked about. And I just want to thank Frances for taking the time to share her story with us. So thank you so much.
Oh, well, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Not a problem. It was an honor to have you on. To our listeners, be on the lookout for another new episode of another amazing woman's journey to self-confidence. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now. Thank you for tuning in to another amazing episode of the Tao of Self-Confidence. Sign up for our free membership site to get more amazing resources for self-confidence by visiting our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits.